Hey guys, Jungle Explorer here, and today I have a Ruger rifle in front of me. Now you're looking at this rifle and you're like, okay, it's a Ruger 1022, Jungle Explorer. I know that. There's millions of them. What's different about it? Why you got that on the table? I said, well, this is a little deceiving. Let me tell you a little story. So, I have a Benjamin Marauder 25 caliber air rifle. I've made some videos with it. I'll throw a link up in the top corner to one of those videos. And I've had it for a long time. I took it out hunting the other day, and the fill valve seal on it broke on it at a crucial time, and I missed a big pig that I was going to shoot with it. And so I took it over to my good buddy Edwin over at Air Guns of Texas and Army Surplus in Abilene, Texas, and he was kind enough to fix that for me on the spot so that I would get back in service. And while looking through his inventory, I saw this gun on the wall, and I'm like, what are you doing with a Ruger 1022? I thought this was an air gun store. And he takes it down and he says, well, this is an air gun. And I'm like, it doesn't look like an air gun. And he pulls this out right here, and there you go. It is an air rifle. It is identical in specs and everything to a Ruger 1022, and it is a Ruger 1022 air rifle, a 177 caliber here, CO2 driven air rifle. And I was just so intrigued by it. I told him, I said, why don't you let me take that rifle and do a review of it? And so he's like, yeah, sure. So he handed it to me to come and do a review. And I was just going to do the review there, but trying to figure out how to get this in here. My wife fell in love with it, so I ended up buying it from him. And so now I own this little baby right here. So I thought I'd just go ahead and show you what it looks like. I mean, if you've ever held a Ruger 1022, this is identical in every aspect to it. The only difference is it's a little heavy in the stock because you got your CO2 mechanism back here. But in every other respect, it is a Ruger 1022, okay? I'm going to put some ammo and CO2 cylinder in it, and I'm going to go out and do some testing with it, but I just wanted to give you a prelude. So if you happen to be in West Central Texas and driving down I-20 along the Abilene area, look up my good buddy Edwin over at Air Guns of Texas and Army Surplus. You don't want to miss that shop. He's got some neat stuff in there, and it'll be well worth your time. But let's go ahead and get this rifle all set up and go out and see what it does. Okay, so let's do an FPS test, see how fast this thing actually shoots. Now, I'll be using the JSB Stratton 5-grain pellets today for this test. So the grain of the pellet will affect how fast or slow, but a 5-grain pellet is a normal grain pellet for a 177. You can get lighter, you can get heavier, but that's generally about the range most pellets will come in. Alright, I've got two brand new CO2 cylinders loaded in here, so we're starting with a full charge. I'm going to shoot over the chronograph the first one, going to measure the maximum velocity that we get out of it, and then I'm going to continue shooting until I get down to where the FPS has dropped 100 FPS. And then we'll count how many shots you can get. Now, it can continue shooting beneath that or below that, but, you know, if you're losing 100 FPS, then that's going to affect your accuracy and everything. So I think that's a good measurement of basically how many shots you're going to get out of each set of CO2 cylinders that you're going to put in here. So let's go ahead and just load one pellet up here and fire. All right. Fire again. Now I have a backstop that's catching these pellets. All right. Alright, so I got some targets set up downrange there, about 20 yards. Go ahead and load up my first shot, and let's see what we can do. Alright guys, how did you enjoy that? That was a lot of fun. I did that FPS test first to see just basically how many shots I could get out of it before it dropped 100 FPS. And to my surprise, I got 52 shots. Now I had the chronograph up there and I was measuring them. One thing I did discover in shooting it, and if you notice, I put the shot list up there, or the shot string up there so you can see. Sometimes it kind of dropped down low and then it jumped back high. And when you saw that happen, what I was doing was I was letting the gun rest for a couple of minutes before shooting. And what I found is that if you just shoot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots really fast, the FPS tends to drop. And what's happening, I believe, is when the CO2 cylinders start to get cold because of the exhaust there, it chills off the cylinder down here, the chamber, that drops the FPS. But if you let it cool off and reach room temperature again, it'll actually jump in FPS, 20, 30 FPS. When I did that, I really, for the first, I would say, the first 20 shots, 25 shots, it stayed pretty stable. It started at 595, and then it went down to around 550, and as long as I let it rest in between the shots, it hung in that area between 540 and 560, and it did really good. It did like that all the way to about, I would say, about 40 rounds. And then it began to drop, about 5 SPS until it reached 492, I believe it was, when it finally dropped below 495, was after 52 shots. So I was actually very surprised out of 2 cylinders to get that many even velocity shots out of it. Now, you could continue to shoot it after it dropped below, 492. I could have continued to shot probably another 30, 40 times. But the FPS seemed to start dropping quite rapidly, about 10 FPS every shot after that. So I just kind of stopped it right there. Anyways, that was hopefully that will answer a lot of questions for people out there that want to buy this gun and want to know about how many shots they're going to get out of it. I try to give you the most information that I can give you in a video. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things that I learned while testing this gun. One, let's talk about the trigger on it. The trigger on it is pretty good if you cock it. It is a double action. You can literally just pull it like that and it'll shoot. But I found in my testing that it doesn't work very well, double action, and it's very hard. I would say 15, maybe 20 pounds of pull there, especially if you have pellets in it. That has to cock and that has to load that pellet. It just is, it's rough and it's not very accurate at all. I mean, you could do it for fun, just rapid fire if you needed to, but if you really are looking for accuracy, the best thing to do is to cock it like that, okay? If you cock it, it's just about maybe about 4-pound pull, much more sensitive trigger, and a lot more, it's a shorter pull, and you can shoot a lot more accurately with it. As you saw in my target practice, it shot very accurately. The gun is very accurate. I had it in the gun rest here tied down, and I shot 52 rounds. And basically, it's about 20 feet from my my backrest, where my bullet stop I had, which essentially was just a board. And essentially all the pellets were just stacked up on that board. I'll throw a picture up on screen here that you can see that. They were all in one spot. And, so that was really good. The other thing is when you use the double action, sometimes it doesn't load the pellets right. Let's talk about the pellets here for a second, or the magazine. The magazine's pretty easy to use. You just pull that back like that, and out comes your magazine. You drop it in, slide it back in. So it's pretty easy to use. When you're loading the pellets, one thing that's very important is to press them down into the magazine chambers. You want them flush in there. When you put it in here, it needs to drop in. If it doesn't drop in and it's rough, then you need to figure out which pellet's holding it back. If it drops in smoothly and you can just close it like that, then you should have no problems with it. If you leave the pellet sticking out a little bit, it's going to have some problems, okay? So smooth operation depends on getting those pellets well seated inside the magazine chambers, okay? Other than that, I did notice that when I tried to use it double action, sometimes I would end up I wouldn't get 10 full shots. It would skip a couple of pellets. It doesn't seem to line up very well whenever you use the double action. Now, I never had that problem when I cocked it manually each time. So I recommend that you cock it manually each time. Let me show you how to get your CO2 cylinders out. Right here you see there's a little deal. You can use a coin, or you just press in and kind of turn it with your finger a little bit here. Well, I normally have a pretty easy time doing it, but when I'm doing it on camera, it doesn't work very well. But it normally is very easy. So once you just do that, it unlocks it. There's your tool right there. You can see there's a nut down in here, and you just put that in that like that and turn counterclockwise, and you take it out. Now, I'm not going to take it out right now because these are two relatively new cylinders that are in here, have about 80% left in them, so I don't want to waste them. But you turn it until they come out. Everything falls out the bottom. You have your two tubes. Okay, you're going to put your new tubes in. You're going to put your first one in facing forward, and then you're going to put your second one facing backwards, and they're going to go up into here. And then you put your nut back in there, and it'll puncture both ends and fill that chamber up. So you'll get you need two cylinders in order to use it. Okay, so then when you're done with that, you use this to crank it back in, and then you just put it back in its spot here and close it up, and you're done. And that's how easy it is as it is. It's very easy to do. So they thought of everything. It's just such a cool, fun little gun. So I really enjoyed, had a fun time with this little gun, and my wife's going to really enjoy it. Keep it loaded in case she's got a varmint or something she needs to shoot at. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, subscribe, and comment. I will post a link underneath the video to this product if you are interested in it. Just look there, you'll see it. Until next time, this is the Jungle Explorer signing out.